And welcome to the Writers Corner live show. Here on the show, we connect authors from around the world to each other and to their readers. Are you currently living in the shadows of an emotional abuser and would you like to know what it takes to step into your own light? Then you don't want to miss our featured author for today. Anita Myers is the author of the book, The Undercover Superhero. So don't go away. We will be right back. If you've just joined us, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Brigitte Limbanda from Cape Town in South Africa, and I am passionate about responsible social media advocacy. And so we ensure that whatever we share here is something that can be backed up by facts, and we love featuring authors with some awesome books, and today is no exception. My co-host is Mary Elizabeth Jackson. She's the award-winning author of the Poolicious children's book series, and she's just released her third book. So do go and check it out on www.maryejackson.com. Mary is also a special needs and disabilities advocate, and she lives in Nashville in the USA. So do let us know where you are joining us from in the world today. Mary, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm so excited and ready for this interview we have today. And we are holding up here. I'm sure you're holding up there, and our author's holding up where she is in the country. And we're both here in the US. So we're all just kind of making our way through. And this is a nice diversion for all of us, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And it's such a great topic considering where we're finding ourselves at in the stream of time with COVID-19 and living under lockdown. It's a case of business unusual. We're doing all kinds of things that we didn't do before. And to compound that, it's something that, if 2-3 months ago, somebody said to us, we'd be living under lockdown and yada, 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 we thought, you crazy? Never going to happen.
Right.
And here we are, so it has all kinds of effects on the way we think and we do things, and more than, our coping mechanisms. And another thing that's been a real issue is with the lockdown is that people, and especially women and children who live in situations where there's abuse, they were now trapped with their abusers. And so that's why I think the topic and our author for today is amazing.
Yeah, it's vitally important right now because, trying to save our country, trying to save people. And, there's so many things that nobody looked at happening. Nobody, no one, there's no rule books, there's no guides. There will be now coming out of this, So, but our author, Anita Myers, is going to give us some good advice and some insight, which I think is great. And we're excited.
Oh, absolutely. So for those of you who've just joined us and missed the introduction, Anita is an emotional intelligence strategist who provides training programs designed to improve the emotional blueprint and landscape for both teens and adults. And so she's the author of The Undercover Superhero, a book that shares what it's like to live in the shadows of emotional abusers and what it takes to step into your own powerful light. So let's invite Anita onto the show and speak to her.
Yeah. Hi, you like your introduction?
I'm just soaking it in right now. It's such a wonderful introduction that, I had an idea of how I was going to enter this universe that you're in, but it just stopped me because what a beautiful introduction. It's just lovely. Thank you so much. Both of you.
Great to have you on the show with us, Anita.
Oh,
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here.
Excited to share you with our audience because not only do you have a book that's very inspiring and helpful, but you have other things that you do that are motivating to lots of women. You have a private Facebook group and the focus is moms, empowering moms. You do a live stream about it. You have a podcast that you do. So you're just, you're really kind of you're just one of those trailblazing moms and women, it's kind of trying to, you're walking your talk is what you're doing. And we need that, we need women who are not afraid to step into who they are and not worried, stepping into it and not worried about what are people going to think about me if I try to own my own power. And I try to get on that platform and say, hey, you can do this, or if I can do this, you can do this, or we can all do this, or look at what you can do. And so you're doing that. And it's just a real celebration. And so it's such an honor to have you.
Mary, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I tend to just really soak in what I'm hearing to match what it is I'm feeling. And I found it so interesting because what you're saying is true. I do enjoy, this is my passion, what we're talking about, the topic of emotional intelligence. It's always been, I didn't have the identification of the words when I was younger, but, as I'm developing through all the vocabulary that we discuss and share with others, that is what it is. It's emotional intelligence. And when you said what you just said, when we go hit the replay and we watch it again, that wasn't who I was when I was younger.
Right.
And that was the whole premise of having the Undercover Superhero. What's so beautiful about hearing what you said is that when one experiences hardship, struggle, challenges, what have you, those things that stop you, that's, stagnate your potential. When we can push through, sometimes, you have to stay still, and other times you can push through. There are opportunities to push through. And so when we actually get to doing that and you go after the thing that feels right for you, it becomes a no-brainer. We've heard terms about how people say, do the job you love and it doesn't feel like you're working. You're just really doing what you're doing. So hearing you say that, being a trailblazer and doing the thing that makes me feel, that's important for others, and it does make me feel really happy to do, was something that I was always afraid to do because of how society and the community and the people around me, their reactions to things had me believing something very different. So it was nice to be able to hear that, because it tells me that I've come a long way, baby.
You've arrived. You have arrived unto your own.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anita, so your story and being able to put pen to paper, how did that come about? Because, we all have stuff happening to us throughout our lives. We all have experiences that we wish we didn't have when we were younger, and that we could go back and erase it or change it. But a lot of us are shamed into silence about, our experiences in the past. And we bury it deep within, and we don't realize how much, how harmful that is. How were you able to bridge that gap to write about your experiences? Because, when you write, you're opening up yourself for all kinds of criticisms, and so those voices in your head can tell you, no, this is a bad idea. How did you get past that?
I think in my history, a lot of people spoke in a way where they didn't believe in me. So it keeps me from sharing the information that I would think is okay to share. And when I finally got to the point where I met certain people, I think the people that start to showcase that they believe in you allows doors to open, and then you can walk through a little bit more confidently. By the time I got to where I was, this was in 2018, really not that long ago, 2 years ago, really, I met a lady who I went to actually work with a separate book. I had done a project with a friend of mine, and I wanted to look into restructuring some of the messaging that I had from that book into a new book. When I did that, I met with a lady who is the owner of a publishing company called Rose Gold Publishing. Her name was Dolly Cortez. And when she met me, her whole job was to read the book that I had already kind of collaborated with someone else on and pull the things that were involving me into something that could work for something in my future. And I remembered when she was reading the book, she was telling me how she just didn't hear my voice in it. When she spoke to me on the phone and she learned what my personality was like and she saw my passion for so many things. And then she read the book, she didn't see the connection. She didn't hear my voice. And I said, no, I'm telling you, my voice is there. Just keep reading. She kept reading and she got to one thing in the book, and that one thing in the book was the most vulnerable piece I created that shared a very hard time in my life. And she said, that I heard your voice. And then she said, she spoke to me in a way where she basically said in so many ways, she said that she believed in me. And it was important that other people could hear the message. And, she asked me to use that piece that she found as the very first beginning of the chapter of this book, The Undercover Superhero. And I remembered when she told me that, I said, I don't even know. It takes a lot of work to get people to speak of something that's so sensitive. And it was already enough having it in there. But to start a new book with that seemed a little off for me. So I had from October to May to write this new book. And I want to tell you, it wasn't until May until all the information flooded out of me. And I'd like to call that a divine download. Mm-hmm. And it took about less than 30 days for, it's amazing. The moment that I really felt that she believed in me, that it was necessary. And I had my, I'm a very faithful woman, and I had my meditation and prayer. And it was just this one day where I just sat down. I'm like, and it all came out because I guess that was the right time. It was a time for it to happen. And I'm very grateful because that was the catalyst for so much more that I'm now doing with so many people.
Anita, isn't that the key to unlocking whatever is within us, is finding that one, and it just has to be one person, finding that one person that totally has that unwavering belief in you and in what you are saying. I find that is so totally freeing, but some people may have a hard time finding that one person. Is there a magic formula for connecting with the right person that can unlock that within you?
I don't know if there's an actual formula that is one type, because when I think about my journey, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a pretty faithful woman. I became more faithful through the experience of what I share in the book. And what I can say is that the first thing that has to happen is you should believe in yourself. And I believe that most children, as we begin our lives, we are limitless. We so believe in ourselves. It takes the limitations of the environment around us to cause us to start redefining our belief system. And that's when we see a lot of people change their mind or become insecure and have all these layers that are thrown of, look at it almost an emotional death that takes place over time if you are in an environment of emotional abusers, people that are unconsciously emotionally abusing you, people that are consciously and intentionally emotionally abusing you. Those are layers of dirt that get put upon you, and you start realizing to yourself, if someone were to say that you were stupid, one time it's like, I don't even believe it. 2 times, I don't want to talk to them. But if you can't leave them and they keep saying it to you, over time, you start to doubt yourself. And so it's really important to believe, at least where I can say I'm coming from, it is very important to believe in yourself, because that hope, that belief is the hope that pushes you through, because as you navigate life's adventure, there's going to be gates that are locked. And there's going to be people that will be your friend and then become your enemy. So like I call them like frenemies. You go through so many adventurous experiences and challenges, but if you stay true to believing in what you believe in, you'll see through so many stories of people that are successful. They kept moving through. It may not be in the direction that you had planned, but it might be through building another type of a path that still brings you back to ultimately your same passion. And the second part would be, yeah, you got to go with when your emotions in your spirit can actually get a head nod from somebody, a genuine head nod of approval, meaning not approving who you are, but they approve your message. They actually agree with you, or they want to give you a chance, or they say, hey, you know what? You have something. Some people that have a lot of deep self-doubt can easily close that opportunity and not be able to get it. And I know that those limitations are what do it. So if I could say anything, I would say, really hold strongly to believe in yourself. If you are someone of faith, keep your prayers strong, have a conversation with your source. And, I think about people that are wrongly imprisoned. I know of a video that I had seen of a gentleman that's actually in I think it was South Africa or Africa, probably. This gentleman, I lost his name right now, but he was in prison, wrongly in prison. And he finally got out after so many years, but the torment of being in that prison was very difficult. And what he shared in there that was so important in his message was, the world of his own imagination and believing and forgiving and moving forward and just constantly moving forward. So I think in our world, especially during quarantine, I do think about what you mentioned earlier about those that are stuck at home. And to some, it is a prison. It is an emotional prison for a lot of people. So how do they keep themselves entertained? We have something that's amazing and brilliant called the brain, and it's the health of the brain is so important. And so if we can feed the brain, if we can feed the mind with a lot of really good information, and there is a lot of opportunities for information to be given and received, I think that we can see strength and power come through it. You hear incredible people that come from really terrible times in life, and it took their own belief in themselves and then finding the opportunities that are there and literally walking through with them. So it's nice. It's a nice experience.
Anita, that resonates so much with me, especially within the context of people living in South Africa with a lockdown. For a lot of people, this is unlocking the feelings that they'd buried about the years of apartheid with oppression, and not having freedom of movement. And so lockdown for many has opened up old wounds that they thought had healed. So what you said just resonates so much with me. And so within your book, are there strategies that people could employ, and who specifically is your book aimed at, and what can people hope to get out of it?
My dedication is an interesting dedication because of the type of personality I have, the kind of person I am, a pretty nice person, and I have a great optimistic energy within me. But I made a decision to allow, I'm going to give a little description here. I believe that every one of us, though whatever age that we're at, we have all of the other younger ladies within us, all of our memories of who we were at the ages that we were and the experiences that we had at those times. They're still living within us. And some of the things that are hurtful, that caused us to doubt ourselves, that caused us to feel valueless, those people and those experiences still linger there. And in order for us to get past it, we have to process through it. And so one of the things that I did in this book itself, the dedication is, when I think about who this is aimed towards, that's different. But the dedication, I did give it an aim there. And those were to the people that actually hurt me. And I vented it in such a way where it wasn't as eloquent as I was speaking for the rest of the book. It was raw, it was real, and it was me. For just a moment, I wanted to be able to share what a lot of people feel on the inside that they might not emit on the outside because they want to keep a decent decorum. So I aimed it towards one in terms of the dedication to be able to say, you know what you did, but I'm still doing what I'm doing, and I'm good. And the rest of the aim is really, believe it or not, it's not just dedicated for women who have gone through abuse. That wasn't truly the message in terms of which gender. It was aimed at anybody and at any age that's going through any level of emotional abuse and what they can do to step out of it, because sometimes you don't have anybody around you. So
Right.
in quarantine, you don't have anybody around you. There are things we can look at, which is, thankfully, this will be, as far as I believe with all my soul, temporary. The quarantine is temporary. And as we grow in our lives, our time with the people that we're with will be temporary, and we will have control of our lives again. And so when I think about who I aim this towards, I think of there's 4 stories that are shared through my life. So there's 4 perspectives that are given: one of a little girl, one of a teenager, one of a young lady, and one as the woman that I am today. And they're very different perspectives to experience because we all have different lives in those moments. So I look at all the girls and boys that are growing up in those environments, all the teenage girls and boys, all the young men and women, and all the young lads and women, and then all the mature adults that are out there who still harbor these strong moments that are even still, think about how certain cultures are, they might still be in it even at the age that they are. Just because we grow up doesn't mean that we've lived and grown past our struggles. So I really aimed it towards anyone that is experiencing any level of emotional abuse, because I really believe it is not, it's under the radar. It's not put in the place it needs to be, because I believe that physical abuse is horrific. And we all understand that because we can visually see it. But if we can start emotionally looking at the emotional abuse and what someone might be, we could dress up real nice. I know it because I lived it. On the inside, can we put ourselves in a place where we can imagine how battered someone might be on an emotional realm? What does that look like? That's where we can see people finally falling apart. Beautiful, amazing, strong looking people are falling apart. People that lose their lives, that choose suicide, they're falling apart on the inside. And we want them to be able to put themselves together, and they can do it themselves. I don't want them to think. It's really nice to be able to have people. God bless the people that are there. I've been lately saying this, there are Lucifers among angels. So we have to be able to know that we still have ourselves. That's the strongest power of all, because we control our lives. Eventually we get to control our lives. So that's what I'd say about the concept of who I would be aiming the book to.
Yeah, because it does happen at any age. I mean, there's a lot of seniors, a lot of marriages with seniors. It happens, because dementia sets in and Alzheimer's sets in, and sometimes abuse occurs there, but it is, it's very, very important for us all to, it's hard when you're a teenager and don't feel like you can turn to somebody when it's going on in a relationship you're in. You don't want to tell anyone it's happening because maybe you feel like, I was in one in high school and the guy threatened to kill himself if I left me. Well, here I was 16, 17 years old and thinking that might happen. So what did I do? I stayed, right? So, how many girls and guys does that happen to? A lot. So, they need people they can reach out to also. And this is a hot topic we know right now because like Brigitte said, all over the world, the cases for abuse has gone up. Suicide has gone up because people being in lockdown. And it's definitely not something anyone saw or even considered going into all this probably.
Right. And there's so much to say about this. But for the sake of this time that I'm spending with you, thank you, by the way, for the opportunity. I think that if there's any chance you get to step forward and ask for help, I believe that this is, anything that happens in the mind, whether you're not feeling well, whether you feel depression, and I don't mean clinical depression, you're just really sad, where you are possibly going through emotional abuse. These are things that I feel are shamed, because you think about the dialogue of how people speak to one another, how parents might have spoken to their children, suck it up and be a man, man up. And I think about those things of what's being told to the children that are boys. And I think about how women are supposed to be according to how parents or society is expecting of them. And when you hear the way that the dialogue is, I can't imagine that it would be easy for anyone who feels that they're going through emotional abuse that could lead them to the next thing, to step forward and ask for help. It is a difficult thing to go and ask for help, because people wait till the very, very last point of their lives where they feel like they're just breaking. And if we can actually turn that around and get people to feel like, how people go to the gym in January because they want to get themselves back to being in good health. They really do. They really, really want it. If they can do that for their mind and think about the gym that's going on in the mind, and we can really work with the incredible muscle that makes them super strong. And if we really look at it, when you talked about Alzheimer's, our brain holds the strength and power for us to live very well, to make our choices to eat better. And when we feel better, how it affects us scientifically in our bodies. There's so many wonderful studies now that are sharing how important it is to feel good. Because when you don't add that feeling good, and you can look good all you want, there's people in the hospital with all sorts of illnesses that were perpetuated by feeling negative.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that with this book and many other opportunities that I can try and put out there, that we start looking at emotional intelligence and ramping up the smarts of that, more than let's wait till we all get sick and then we suffer and then we get the cure. Let's be preventive about this. Let's be a little stronger, because we all have the power to step into our own light. When I say light, is our own energy, our own abilities, our own opportunities. And we live in this time today where we can take advantage of it. So I'm hoping, people aren't always going to have an easy access out, but they might be able to go online and get this book, and read it quietly. No one needs to know, and just have that personal message from me to them that says that I believe in them too.
Very good. That's good.
So Anita, where can people find you, and where can people find your book?
Well, gosh. Well, you can find my book on Amazon, and I could certainly send the link over to you. But the URL for getting into that Amazon link, just to make it easier, is beanundercoversuperhero.com.
Oh, lovely. I like that.
Yeah, you click that and you'll find the link to my book on Amazon. You can certainly get it there. And if you want to reach out to me, you can find me through LinkedIn, Facebook. There's some links I can provide for you there too. And, listen, I think that there might be people out there that absolutely know that they're going through emotional abuse. There might be people that are covering that up very well because their ego is going to be that bouncer for life to make sure that they're good. But underneath, they might be suffering. And if they want to find out, where they are in their kind of happiness scale of things, their content, their natural feeling, that they could certainly take the Mind Power 365 quiz that I can provide if you like, and somehow I can send it over to you. But I have a link for that as well. And you can find that. My website is interscope365.com. I think you may have mentioned that before. So you can find it there if you like.
Wonderful.
Oh, that is awesome. Is your book also available as an ebook?
Yes. I tend to be like, this is my book right here. I tend to be someone who loves the hardcover, but I know that's
hold
it
up. I'm gonna put you full screen. Hold up the book.
There you go. There it is. See that? This is me coming out from the darkness and into the light.
Oh, nice little creative there. Yeah.
What I did in the book that I hope people that do get it can appreciate and maybe start thinking about for themselves is this. I do take people, if you've never been through emotional abuse, you were someone that was in a supportive life, you may not understand what someone would be going through, or when you meet someone that's at the tail end of their limit. I want them to be able to read this book and go through the journey of what a child might be going through and how it perpetuates and the decisions that are made after and how it affects them as they become older. Because you never know when you date, when you meet people, when you work with people, when you have your, managers and whatnot, when you start understanding that something everyone's got a backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And what does their emotional landscape really look like? Now, you might not be able to solve their issues, but you have more of an awareness, and that's emotional intelligence. That's all about identifying and managing your emotions as well as the emotions of someone else. So you can work a little bit easier, kind of going from being angry about somebody's behavior to maybe a little bit more compassionate, that they might be actually suffering. And you don't have to always help them in the way that you think you want to, but you can allow them the space that they need to feel what they're feeling. And I think in this book, one of the things I did in each chapter, it was for me, but I hope anyone who reads this can devise one for themselves. I had in every chapter a song that related to that time. A song that relates to that chapter, because music moves me. I love music. I love music of all kinds. And in the different stages of my life, there were songs that either related to the moment that I could emotionally identify with. I don't know if any of you can relate to this. I'm sure you can. That when you get angry or sad and you're in your car and that one song comes on and it's like, oh, no, not right now, right? Like you just don't want to get to that emotional place. When you can get home, find that song and listen to it when you can be in a safe place and cry, get it out. When you're angry, I created a playlist that was called Anger Management for myself. And what it was it wasn't about soothing Enya songs and Sade or, really beautiful music. It was music that actually identified with my anger, and it helped me work out better.
Good for you.
Have the best workout ever, because
I'm right there with you. It's amazing how music can allow us to feel the emotion, and sometimes we need to feel the bad emotion instead of shutting it off or delaying it or not wanting to feel it. You actually do need to feel it.
Yes.
To be able
That's
to work through
process.
it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Think about how we are when we laugh, when it's positive. When you have a laugh with a friend or with family or from a show, you start laughing, then you laugh louder, you hit that climatic point of like laughing, your tears are coming out, holding on your gut, and then you finally get to the end where you're like, whew, that was fun,
that
right?
Feels good.
Yeah. Now, why don't we do that when we're crying? And what I mean by that is, a lot of times we're not in an environment where we want to let the world know about our emotions, because what happens after. It's like, oh my God, are you okay? What's wrong? But when you get yourself to a place where you can cry, let it out, give it its time, let it go through the journey it needs to go through, because then you've processed it and your brain needs that to happen. And I think about the number of times I have such a passion for children, because when I see especially with boys, and I'm not discounting girls, I love girls so much. Okay. I have a daughter. I love girls, but I love boys and I cherish them so much. When you see a boy in an instructed place, like a place of instruction, and the boy is getting nervous and he starts getting, the quivering chin and the eyes are glaring, and you see the instructor say, knock it off, stop crying right now. We don't cry here. When you see those kinds of words that are being spoken, I know underneath that instructor means well, but they're forgetting the emotions of what that boy needs to go through. Take him to the side, let him cry, and then talk about it. Their brain can't function in understanding and processing if they're stifled. And we do it now as grownups. We're all like this. We don't want anyone to know. As mothers, we don't want our children to see. We don't, we're always holding in a lot of the negative things. And what happens? We have illness.
Right. It creates disease. That's
spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we have to go because our show is basically over. And Anita, we have to have you back on because definitely we could go for an hour or more.
I was just thinking the same thing. Anita, we're going to have to invite you back because we're out of time. But this is such a huge topic. We had so much fun, and I really hope that you will come back sometime and we can chat a little bit more about your book because there's so much to talk about. So thank you for being a guest today.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yes, loved it. Loved it. So bye from Tennessee.
Bye from Chicago.
And goodbye from Cape Town. See you soon, everyone. Have a great day further.